going live on YouTube as well really quick. 1 second. Yay! There we go. Hello, guys. My name is Mariah Johnson, and I am talking about weight struggle tonight. And so essentially what I'm going to go over are, I think, 4 to 5 of the biggest things, the biggest and most common things that I see that stop people from either losing weight or gaining it, and really how to overcome that. And so, honestly, I'm going to pretty much just dive right in here. If you guys are curious at all about my own experience with both of these, gaining weight and losing weight, feel free to just ask me questions. Totally happy to answer those throughout this, or towards the end, maybe I'll go into that. So if you're curious, I guess stick around and I can share that story later on. And so, one of the most common things that I see people struggle with, I'm just going to make a note about my story so I don't forget to tell you guys that at the end. But one of the most common things that I see people really, really struggle with when it comes to either losing or gaining weight is having different blocks around it as far as fear and needing protection. So, this is especially what I see for people who are overweight. Typically, that weight isn't just solely caused by food. I know that in our, I don't know what you call it, in our current modern culture, we're taught to believe that, fat people are only fat because they eat bad, or because they eat unhealthy foods, or because they eat in a certain way, or because they never move their body. But truthfully, there are so many people who are overweight, and it actually doesn't really have anything to do with the food they're eating. Often it has more to do with the emotions they're dealing with or not dealing with, different situations in their life that they're, again, dealing with or not dealing with. And those extra layers tend to build up literally as protection. And so if, they've gone through something traumatic in their family, and then they believe that, okay, from here on out, I need to protect myself from having this situation happen to me. So this isn't something that they consciously do. This is just something that happens. They aren't like, oh, I need to go put some extra layers of fat on so that I can protect myself from ever experiencing this situation that I'm seeing my parents go through, my siblings go through, whatever right now. So I'm just going to gather up some extra fat just to keep myself safe. That's not something we do consciously, but unconsciously, that's something really, really common for us to do. And so if you're in that place right now where you are working your butt off, you're eating healthy, and you're trying to figure out what is going on, why is my weight not budging, I would encourage you to take a look at your history. Like, what has happened in your life? Around when did you start gaining weight? What was happening to you during that time? What was going on with your emotions, your feelings, your fears, all of those kind of things? And just see if you can start to deconstruct what was going on at that time, and see if you can look inside yourself. If you guys have been following my Instagram or my YouTube for any amount of time, I'm sure that you know that I am really, really big about making sure that rather than looking for answers outside of yourself and taking all the courses, reading all the books, though they can be very, very helpful, most of the answers, all of the answers are going to be inside of you. And so if you're willing to do that tough work and actually look inside and figure out, okay, where is this fear coming from? Like, if you have a specific part of your body where you hold most of your fat, or where you have a lot of pain, or that gives you a lot of trouble, like if you're in and out of doctors all the time, have a conversation with that body part. Ask it, hey, what's going on? Why do you feel this way? Why do you feel so threatened? Why do you feel like you need to, be so tense and tight and try to protect me in this way? Like, what is causing you to act like this? And I think that I mentioned this on one of my other recent videos, but, talk to your body, all of your organs, your bones, your blood, everything, as if they're different members in a family. They're probably kind of dysfunctional. They're a little bit crazy. They all have their own agenda. They all have things that they're wanting to do on their own. But if you can talk to them and say, hey, let's come together. Hi, Molly. If you can talk to them and say, hey, let's come together. Let's, work together as a family and figure out what is going on here so that we can get to that end goal, which is, keeping us alive, keeping our body alive and keeping us functioning. And so really that is the goal of everything in your body. Your entire body is always wanting to keep you alive. Your mind, your body, all of your organs, your blood, everything. And so when you have things going on that are contradicting that, instead of looking at it as, this is terrible, this is happening to me, this is something that is uncontrollable, look at it as, okay, this is just a lesson. what is this trying to teach me? What am I supposed to learn from this? And often what I see is that when people start to come at it from that angle, the weight naturally starts to change without them actually physically doing anything differently. They're not changing how they're eating, they're not changing their workout routine. They're just changing how they're viewing their body, how they're talking to their body, how they're incorporating their life with their body. So often we tend to look at our bodies as these like separate things. This has become really, really clear to me in the last couple of weeks at this retreat I'm at in North Carolina. And one thing, the one thing I guess that really stood out to me is that many, many times it came up saying, we all know what a skeleton looks like, right? Like we've seen the Halloween ones, they're perfectly white, like my shirt. We've seen them in doctor's offices. We see them on paintings, on drawings, on what's it called? Anatomy books. And they're always this like perfect, bright bleach white with nothing on them. But that's not what our bones look like when they're functioning properly, when they're doing what they're supposed to do. Like they don't look like that. And I think because like that's just a very, very simple and obvious way to see this difference. And obviously that's a very simple and easy way for science to show us what our bones look like. But because we see them in that way so often, it's really easy for us to disassociate from it and be like, oh, that's what that looks like. That's not me. That's what that looks like. And so almost like if you think about it like a car, and the car has all these different parts, and it needs all the parts in order to work. If you take the engine out, you've got nothing going on in there. If you take the radiator out, you've got a whole lot of other problems. So your body is exactly the same. Like if you're doing things and if you're suppressing things, not paying attention to things, it's going to show up as a problem in some new, different way. And like I said, what I encourage you to do is really ask questions. Ask yourself questions. Look inside. Figure out, hey, what's going on in here? Like ask your body. It'll probably give you some good answers once you get good at learning to listen to it and talk to it. So fear and protection, those are the first like big ones that I see really, really hold people back when they are, like I said, trying to gain or lose weight. Hi, Renee. Hi, Sarah. And so, yeah, that fear and protection, like I said, it just really, really holds people back because if you're afraid of what might happen if you lose the weight, your body is going to see that as a threat and you're never going to lose the weight because your body thinks, I have to keep this weight as protection. I have to keep this on. And on the opposite side, if your fear is of gaining weight and you're terrified of it, even though maybe you're at a point in life where you really, really need to, hi, April, your body is still going to be like, no, that's just like your mind trying to trick me. I know what's going to keep you safe. And what's going to keep you safe is staying underweight. And so when you learn to recognize those patterns and habits and figure out what's going on, it's a lot easier to overcome them and unravel them so that you can move on. So yeah, I would really ask yourself, what are you afraid of? Either way, like I said, go into your body and ask those organs that are giving you trouble, the weight that's giving you trouble, if it's your skin, your hair, whatever it is, like ask those parts what is giving you trouble, what they're afraid of, and just see what comes up. See what answers you get. Because I can't guarantee, but I would like to pretty much guarantee that whatever answer comes up is totally accurate. And if you hear something that sounds super silly, like, oh, you don't sleep enough, or oh, you need to drink more water, or, I mean, there's so many things that I'm trying to think of a specific example for me. There have been a lot of really silly things where I'm like being on my phone less. And I'm just like, oh, well, duh, I already know I need to do that. Listen to it. Do that. Do the silly little thing. Do the tiny little thing that's only going to take you 5 seconds. That's going to take some willpower at first until you get used to actually keeping it around and making it a habit. But do that thing and just see how it makes you feel for a week, maybe for a month. Just test it out and see how it goes. So the next one. So the first one was like pretty much the fear and protection or the most common blocks. The second one is what are you afraid of? Asking yourself what you're afraid of. The third one is if you are feeling, and I feel like this is also very common, most people are. I should use this hand because on Instagram you guys can't see my right hand. Number 3 is are you feeling pressure to lose or gain weight? And if you are, where is it coming from? Is it coming from something external or is it coming from internally? And then if it's coming from either one of those, exactly where? Can you pinpoint exactly where it's coming from? Whether it's internal or external. And so, what you're wanting to do here, kind of similar to figuring out what you're afraid of, is figuring out, okay, where's this pressure coming from? Does it need to be there? Do I need that pressure? Because feeling stressed or feeling guilt is one of the lowest vibration things that we can feel. And if you're feeling that while also trying to do something positive to make a positive change in your life, it's going to be really, really, really difficult because, again, you're literally just going to be fighting yourself from your like subconscious level to the conscious level. It's not going to be very easy to move past that and figure out how to grow and how to lose the weight, gain the weight, do whatever you need to do, because it's oftentimes it's not internal. Most often it's not internal. So when it's coming from an outside source, or if it is coming from within you, but it's coming from, again, that place of being in fear, being afraid, being terrified of what might happen if you lose the weight, what might happen if you gain the weight. Once you can, again, figure that out, it's going to be a lot easier to really break it down and make it happen. The next one I touched on a little bit at the very, very beginning, as far as, some people, here's a very simple one. If you're struggling to lose weight or gain weight, and this works for some people, it doesn't work for some people. And that is completely, completely normal because everyone is struggling with their weight for different reasons, like I've mentioned throughout this whole thing. So 1, 2, 3, this is number 4, is a calorie deficit or surplus. So if you're trying to lose weight, you need to be in a calorie deficit. If you need to gain weight, you need to be in a calorie surplus. And those are just very, 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 very generic, basic guidelines, I would say. Because especially if you are someone who maybe is trying to lose weight, but you've been in a massive calorie deficit for months and months or years and years, your metabolism is most likely very, very damaged. And so you actually do need to increase your calories and what's called a reverse diet so that you can then come back and bring your metabolism back from the dead, basically, so that it can actually start functioning properly and helping your body use everything in your body properly. Basically, I am completely blanking on the word that I want to use right now, but essentially breaking everything down in your body as it's supposed to, like using food as fuel as it's supposed to. And then for the surplus, again, if you've been massively overeating for a really long time, but you're trying to gain weight and you're just like, oh, this isn't working, what's going on? You probably need to just switch things up and try eating in a different way, practicing different styles. And so on this, I would say really, really test things out. So test out eating at different times, test out eating different styles, test out everything. Test out all the different kinds of foods and just see what actually feels good for you rather than focusing solely on the number on the scale and trying to gain or lose weight. I have another note here, but I don't know what I meant by it. So unfortunately, I can't give you that one because I just don't know what it says. But for the very last thing, a bit about my own story. So when I was in high school, well, all throughout growing up, I've always been in competitive cheer and gymnastics and dance, and just obviously all of those sports are very physically demanding, as well as focused on your looks, focused on your weight, focused on things like that. And it's not at all intentional. The coaches I worked with, at least, like none of them had ever said anything about anyone's weight. There was never anything like that. And they were actually a lot more concerned about people eating and fueling themselves properly than telling people, oh, you need to lose weight, which is something that I hear is common in other areas. But luckily I didn't have that experience. I actually just put it on myself that I wanted to lose weight. And so for probably like 4 or 5 years, I had been trying to lose weight and never ever did it, just because I didn't know what the hell I was doing, and I was just trying things with no clue at all. And then throughout college, I finally started losing weight, figured out what foods actually work for me, which was a game changer, figured out what kind of workouts I actually enjoy. And then recently in January this last year, so like 7 months ago, we were in Bali, and I was eating amazing the whole time. I was eating super duper healthy. And of course, on our very last night, I was like, okay, I've been vegan for months now. I'm just going to try some fish. Like, couldn't be too bad, right? of course, I ended up getting a parasite and I actually don't remember how much weight. I think I lost like 10 or 15 pounds. And this was only in like, I think a week or two. Um, and what I've found over about the last 6 years of really, really playing with this weight stuff is that my weight my weight and how I feel is the best within about like a 10-pound range. And so this loss of 10 to 15 pounds was like 10 to 15 pounds under what I needed to be at in order to feel good. And so for me, feeling good means like having plenty of energy to do things, having plenty of focus to do things, um, feeling satiated after I eat and not just like wanting to continue eating and stuffing my face all day. Um, yeah, so those are kind of like the big things, and also not feeling bloated and super duper gassy, stuff like that that I hope is kind of obvious. um, but yeah, so after that, I had to switch over, and instead of trying to lose weight, I was trying to gain that weight back. And so luckily it wasn't very hard just because like I said, I've done all of this stuff before. I know my body really well and I understand what my body needs in order to gain weight and lose weight. And so I think this is a really, really useful, helpful tool for everybody to learn and to understand so that no matter what happens in your life, whether you go through a stressful period and lose or gain a bunch of weight, you can reverse it. And then, if something goes out of whack the opposite way, because life is always changing, life is always fluctuating, business is always fluctuating, weight is always fluctuating. Like, this is, I guess, another thing to just let you guys know is, if you don't know this already, a majority of people do not stay the same weight for an extremely long time. Typically, especially women, we fluctuate about 5 pounds up and down. That comes along with our period every month, emotions, water weight, like so many other things go into that. But just know that if your weight is fluctuating all the time, like, that's normal. You're not weird. I promise you. It's totally normal. Everybody's going through that. So yeah, that's pretty much all of my story. And I hope that this was helpful for you guys. If it was, please leave a comment or hit the like button or subscribe. And then if you're on Instagram, feel free to shoot me a message. And yeah, I'm going to be doing these every week. So if you have any topics that you would like me to go over, please let me know. And I would love to share that stuff with you guys next time.